10 minutes before, so
Commission meeting? You guys just proposed it and we're like, all right, let's go.
I don't know what happened.
Kind of just,
Good evening and welcome to the September 27th meeting of the Planning Policy Commission. Tonight we are going to, watch the blinking light, we are going to discuss the transportation element of the comprehensive plan. And our senior planner, Kristen, will start us on a discussion this evening.
I will. Good evening. So I'm going to cover the transportation element, and there were not many amendments this year. So we had proposed 4. We have 3. The first is the update of the Transportation Improvement Program, which the Planning Policy Commission reviewed and recommended earlier this year, and then it was approved by City Council. So this is simply inserting the approved document into the plan. We also had update transportation concurrency, but that didn't happen. It was an update of the model for traffic, but not for concurrency as policy stands, so that was taken off of our list. Update information regarding the Commute Trip Reduction Act. A couple of years ago, the state updated the CTR program, and there are just some small required changes that we needed to put into our code. And lastly, the ST3 election was in 2016. We had policies in there to prep us for that, but now that we've been included in that and we will be getting light rail, we've had to update those policies as well. AJ?
what does transportation concurrency mean?
That, Trish, will you explain?
That is a GMA, Growth Management Act term that says that when you're growing, the growth should help pay for the capacity it requires. And so we're allowed to charge some sorts of impact fees to help cities with that. And one of them is the transportation impact fee that we calculate based on, with help from our concurrency model, which shows it figures out now, but it also forecasts how our intersections and the street segments work or don't work in the city.
So it's a model to quantify what our transportation impact fees should be.
That's a byproduct of it, but it also shows us where we should be thinking about maybe doing capacity projects to show up on the TIP in future years.
So it's more long-term than the TIP?
We use it for many things.
Okay.
Yeah, and just as a little history lesson, when was it? Back in 2000, around 2000, we had a moratorium because of concurrency. We weren't meeting.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right, so we did use it as it's supposed to be used, that you can stop growth or slow it down if you're not meeting your concurrency goals.
Are we aiming to tackle that next year?
We're in the midst of an update right now, and we just didn't finish it in time to put the outcome in the plan. So yeah, it would be part of next year's update, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to fly through these because they're pretty obvious. So there's the transportation improvement program that you all reviewed and recommended and council approved. This is the map that shows where the projects are.
And will that flow through the Transportation Commission next time around?
My guess is that yes, it would. That would be, yeah.
Because this was one that I always felt the PPC never really got a good chance to provide feedback, kind of just passed in front of us both
It would
times.
still come here.
Isn't it
But
part of like land
it would go
use?
to the
I know it
transportation.
would still come here, but I just
Right.
never felt like
But-
it got much vetting.
Right, it is something that would go to the Transportation Advisory Board.
Okay.
For-
Does
advisory
it work
board.
hand in hand with like land use?
It does. Well,
It does.
it does, yeah.
And the reason that it comes to PPC is because there's projects in the comp plan and land use projects, and what you all would do is make sure that what was on the map that we said we needed for growth was actually showing up on the TIP. And so for a while, when Gary used to do it, we would have him tell us, he had a special list of the comp plan projects that were listed in our plan that met with the growth, and how it fit into his plan. So they're all one plan.
Yeah, so for example, we have, like 3 new roads and an overcrossing with I-90 that, we're anticipating all this growth in central Issaquah, and so those were included in the model to see how they would or would not help transportation concurrency. It turns out that they will help, so those are included on the TIP.
Right.
But they're not funded. That's the
Correct,
important
those are
thing
not
is-
funded
Yeah,
yet.
the TAP includes a very large amount of unfunded.
Very large
Right.
list. And
Right, but like
the
60
first part
Second
is-
that's going in now, that was part of the growth that we,
Again, Trish?
60 Second by Costco,
Oh, yeah, that
that
one's
was
funded.
one of the ones that we needed to help with the growth there in that area.
Yeah.
It's a new road owned by Costco.
that goes sort of in the side, the back end of Costco?
Not
Supposed to
open
be
yet.
open by the end of the year,
Open,
though.
yes, opening soon,
The Taco Bell and Taco Time, all that stuff.
November, I think.
I know it's supposed to be
November,
before the
December,
end
it's
of the
before the end of the year.
Taco
I'm not
time
sure
on
the
one
date.
side. It's fully north of 90.
Okay. Trip Reduction Act, like I said, this is required 2015 or 2016 CTR updates. They changed things like you no longer call it single occupancy vehicle. It is now a non-drive alone trip. So we had to change that.
That's crazy.
And they asked us to include transportation management action plans, which is something we have sort of done in the past, but it's never been very formal, so we need to formalize that. And transportation management action plans are when larger projects come in. You sit down with them and it's sort of a contract where you say, you will do these things, provide Orca cards, provide ride share, provide vans, that kind of thing, to your employees to help reduce the number of trips on the road. And then we made definitions for both of those. So you can see here where we just said improve the number of non-drive alone trips. Same there. Transportation management action plans, just use those during the development review process.
You go back. Including commute trip reduction, shared vehicles, is that shared vehicles, comma, transit, comma, and bike share? Or are those shared vehicles, transit, and bike share examples of commute trip reduction?
No, it should be a comma.
What page is that on? I see the tip, but I don't see these.
Of your packet?
Because I see the I-9, oh, here we go. Okay,
Okay.
page 11.
Okay.
Which employers do we do commute trip reduction with?
Oh, now we're trying to do it with all employers.
Okay.
But in prior years, it's been any employer who had 100 employees or more.
Okay.
And there were about 8 of them,
But the new goal is to do it with all?
is to do it all.
So regardless of
Yeah,
the
it's
size
no
of
longer,
business?
it's no longer, it's now all trips instead of just the commuter
Major
trips with
employer
larger
trips?
employers. Yeah. Pardon me, Jason?
Oh, I was going to say, so it's regardless of size of company? It's
Now it
something-
is.
Okay.
Yes. Again, non-drive alone trips, or actually we said trips other than cars, and then non-drive alone trips. Good? Okay, this is one of the definitions that we have for Transportation Management Action Plan. We don't actually have a formal definition. We had a draft that was done several years ago, along with something else that was in our code, so we combined those two and made this. Want me to read it?
And do we have T-maps with major employers?
2, I think, are in place, and that's all.
Costco and,
Did the schools have one?
I thought it was the school, but I'm not sure we did
I'm not
it.
sure. I know we started
I thought it
one.
might have been an apartment complex, but I don't remember. But 2, I think, is what are in place.
and so do we have in our comp plan goals in terms of how many or in which scenarios we want these?
It is in no, we're working on it. So part of it, we have our commute trip reduction program that's actually an adopted ordinance. That talks about it. And then once we're trying to get these more formalized, and I think that'll be part of the master mobility plan, and it would be listed there. But we don't get that specific in the comp plan.
Okay, so we just say this is something that can happen, but we don't have any
Right.
goals
We would
right
like it to,
now.
this is what we would like to happen, this is what it is, and then we'll figure out the numbers later. It's kind of like when you say, we want lower building heights, don't know what those are yet, we'll figure it out in the standards. So it's the same kind of thing.
And for now, though, for development, we have transportation demand programs that's sort of
Right.
a distant cousin of this that we're trying to get better and better. So we do require when businesses come in that they tell us, that they try to carpool, that they try to do
Right.
Orca cards, that they do all that good stuff. But this is like the next generation of that.
Right.
Okay.
And non-drive alone trips. Any commute to work, a store, a home, a park that does not involve one person driving in a car. It's made by alternative modes such as bike, foot, bus, or carpool.
So why do you use the word commute? Wouldn't you say any trip to work, a store, home, park?
I'm good with that. That's a good point.
I think, because commute,
Yeah,
I think that's why
implies
it's a
work.
trip, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd say any trip.
Okay.
And then I would throw in to work, a store, a home, a park, or another. I would throw in like another destination.
Do you have any thoughts? Because I couldn't think of one.
No. I meant literally put in another
or other
destination.
destination.
Yeah, or other destinations.
Okay.
It's because I could see someone read that and be like, well, why are we just
I'm going to the
managing
bank.
work, shopping, and park trips?
Right.
Or a trip.
Or
Okay,
yeah, I
never
would
mind
say
that.
just
Yep,
or
that's
another
good.
destination.
Or other destination.
Yeah.
Okay.
One person driving one car.
Anything else on this one?
Like, I would switch bus to transit. Because
Bus is a form of transit, though.
right,
Because
but
transit could also mean light rail, but you want it to be more.
but that's what I'm saying.
all-encompassing.
So I'm
Okay.
saying use transit to be to be less specific, because you could get light rail, you could get like shuttles,
Yep.
more broader.
Okay. Lastly, like I said, ST3 was in play last time when we wrote these policies, and we were trying to get it, and then lo and behold, we have it coming. So we updated some of these. We called it, for example, high-capacity transit at the time because we didn't know if it was going to be a rapid bus line, or if it was going to be light rail. So it was just all-encompassing high-capacity transit, so we just changed that. We had initially put Satellite Operations Maintenance Center in there as a way to help encourage and say, sure, we'll take it all. We'll take a maintenance center, but now it's,
Are we
all associated
Do we,
uses.
do we no longer want the OMF or?
not necessarily, no. Maintenance centers are really large and hard to find a location. And, yeah,
Is the idea with ST3 that the Sound Transit light rail that comes through, it's not like Bellevue where they're going to have a large depot. With Issaquah, it just kind of comes in, it has a stop, and then it moves along.
Fun
Well-
fact, the ST3 plan does not have any language around the OMF for this line.
around the what?
So the operations maintenance facility, unlike all the other extensions, this line does not have any language around it.
Okay.
And so it's currently open what they'll do.
Right, and Bellevue got a maintenance center. I don't know that it's likely that they'll put one here. That's just me
So
talking off the top of my head, but.
the current plan, I'll take off my commission hat, put on my Sound Transit hat. The current plan is that it will be an independent line, and so it will not interline, with the idea being that they want to be flexible around technology. And so while it might be light rail, it won't necessarily be the same breed of cars that the other lines are moving. And so it's highly likely that it'll get its own maintenance facility, which will just look very different than what we're building now, because the thought is technology should have changed sufficiently in the next 10 or 15 years that the cars will look quite different. Because the cars we're running right now and the ones
Right.
that we're buying right now are based on 1990s technology.
Okay,
And so the thought was to have it be distinct enough so the technology will look quite different.
okay.
So we have 22 years to decide.
But we're planning now.
We're planning for the place.
It'll-
but
it'll-
not what it's going to look like.
It'll open
right?
in 22 years, but most of the important decisions will be made in the next 8 to 10.
I understand that.
So
Yeah. Yeah, and therefore it's associated uses, because who knows what it's going to need. Yeah. This one at the time, but they were also doing the Metro Long Range Plan, and we were anticipating light rail, and we wanted to connect better with Sammamish and other parts. We didn't know if it would be light rail or what it was going to be, and the fact it looked a little confusing. So now we're just saying, we just want to efficiently connect with our neighboring jurisdictions, their employers, such as Microsoft, anything else that may be up there, the people who live there. We just want a more efficient system between those areas.
can I throw one suggestion? Instead of saying transit system, say transit network. I feel like integrated a network, I think, is
Sure.
better language.
Sure. Yeah, that works. Okay. And then the last one, when we wrote that, the Metro Connects plan was not in play. The Metro Connects plan is Metro's long-range plan, and it hadn't been written yet or adopted, so we just included that to update it. And that's all I have for me.
Can I?
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, can I add a policy? So one thing that we talked at length when we so this is within this, so maybe it's expanding a policy.
Maybe
But
a
one-
cousin, okay.
Yeah, maybe because one thing we talked at length, and we were talking about the light rail station location. I remember we talked about, we were talking about a map and where we wanted to put the representative project, and we talked at length about whether or not we wanted it in I-90 or outside of I-90. One of the thoughts to have it be in 90 was that means we could leverage the ST3 project to help make I-90 itself more permeable. The idea being that if you build a station, there will be I-90 crossings associated with and so forth. Is that something that we want to add within this transit network?
So I would propose that we maybe do that next year, because right now we're coming out with the strategic plan. And if you've seen the draft strategic plan, which I think the survey's out for people to comment.
I was just going to announce
on.
it to them, yeah,
Oh,
to do
okay.
the survey.
The survey is out and available for you to comment on the draft strategic plan. And I was on the transportation group that came up with our objectives there and had a very long discussion about the light rail station. And we did propose to work with Sound Transit to identify a transit stop, a transit location. So I would kind of wait and see what happens there,
Okay.
and then we can put it in there. Trish, do you have any other thoughts on that one?
Because I think it deserves a bigger
It's a-
conversation than four of us putting it in and
Yeah.
then having it go to council, because there's going to be some pondering on that and the where and the how and
Yeah.
and I think it deserves more than just our comp plan process. I think it's better fits in the city strategic plan discussion.
Yeah. I mean,
You know,
this-
it elevates it to a bigger discussion than
It does.
just the comp
The
plan.
Transportation Mobility Group's spent hours talking about just that, too.
Okay.
And then we took it to the bigger strategic plan group and spent time talking about it there. So I think it's a much bigger discussion. So I say we wait and see just a little bit, kind of where we're going with that, and then put it in there maybe next year.
And that'd probably be on the new transportation group, would be talking about that too, wouldn't they?
Right, right. Depending on what happens with the strategic plan.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think we should make any reference to where we would want it. I think there's still this discussion with Sound Transit, and they have their ideas, just like Bellevue had back and forth. So I think we need to wait and discuss that.
Okay. All right. Trish?
This is a really exciting part. I'm not sure if you remember from the docket, this was one that you guys pulled up from us not doing it. So this is number 12. Back in 2015, I think Joan was probably the only one here in 2015, we had to do the 8-year complete comp plan update with all the elements. And when we started going through all the elements, we realized that back in the day, a lot of the implementation went in with the policies and the goals. And so it went, you know, the aspirational, we want to do this, we want to do that. And then we actually had projects and plans that would get us to the goals and the policy. So in 2015, we realized we had a lot in all the elements. So we pulled them all out and put them in this appendix and said, we're going to get to those. We can't sort them out yet because it's 2015 and we're updating all the elements. So we'll come back to those and figure them all out. Well, today was the day. So we unearthed them all and went, wow, that is a lot of stuff in this appendix. And so we because you guys were so brilliant when you did Old Town and you had the 3 specific time frames, so we structured it like that. And so we made the little charts. We talked to all the departments to ask them if they remembered all these implementation plans and projects that were listed in the appendix. And most of them, they recognized. Some of them, they did not. And then they told us what date did they do the original or whatever the most current one was, and then the anticipated update. So that's how they're listed in the table, is what's the most current one of whatever it is, and then when is the update. And the piece I want to stress, that we stressed when we first adopted this as an appendix, is there's no requirement to fund these. Council is not bound, because they're listed here, to put them in the budget on any given time. It's just used as a tool to remind them of all the projects and programs that they wanted to do at one time, or the ones that are out there that are maybe in need of an update. There's no funding requirement because they're in here, okay? I wanted to just stress that we're not telling the council what to do by putting them in here and putting when we anticipate they'd be updated. So that's the background, and then I just threw the charts in there. Most of them are to be updated in the next couple of years from 2019 to 2020. A lot of them are going to be pretty exciting. Kristen talked about number 7, the Mobility Master Plan. I know you all had talked about the tree canopy study. We're going to update that again next year with the Park Strategic Plan that was listed there. We're going to have a comprehensive wayfinding plan. We've been talking about that for a long time, and that's supposed to be on tap for next year. The historic landmarks, that's going to be a fun one. So that's the first. I think there's a couple charts of the current ones.
We don't currently have landmarks?
We do.
We did.
We have, we have an inventory of all the ones that could be, but we only have actually landmarked a handful of them.
4. We have 4.
It's an example of like a landmark.
Pickering
Pickering
Barn.
Farm is a national landmark, not a local landmark, but Gilman Town Hall is local.
Shell
The depot is
station.
local, the Shell Station is local, and then the Conrarty House was designated last year
Yeah,
as
Mark
well.
Miller's house
Oh, wait,
up on the hill.
Gilman Town Hall is not yet. They're about to nominate it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I think I'm confused by what's promote mean then? That we're trying to establish them as landmarks, or we're just trying to take our existing landmarks and
I think we're
advertise
trying
them
to,
for tourism
because
purposes?
we have
or-
so many that are potentially could be, but a lot of folks don't even realize that if they own a property that could, that there's even a mechanism that you could do that. And so I think we would be more letting folks know what the program would be for them to landmark it, and then what things they could and couldn't do with it, and just to maybe be more proactive on all the historic buildings that we do have.
Right, and several years ago, as for part of Confluence Park, I wasn't here for the very beginning of it, but we wound up taking down Anderson House, which the Army Corps felt like it was could have been a landmark building, and we wound up taking it down. So as mitigation, we gave the state funding to be used for historic preservation projects, and they've done a grant, but they just went through their first grant cycle, and they have like $200,000 to use, and I think only $93,000 was used, so they still have money. So they'd like to potentially use some of that funding to go out and talk to these property owners who are on the historic resources inventory and just educate them about landmarking.
Okay. I think that's great, but I'm not sure if just promote historic landmarks is clear.
Right, that's how it was listed in the
Okay.
appendix, so.
We don't want to change
Because
that?
we don't really know what it's going to be,
Right.
so we just sort of left it there as a placeholder that something's supposed to happen on that. But yeah, we agree, there were some wordings that we were like, what
We
were
don't want to just
thinking?
say something, historical landmarks?
Well, we could, I might not get very far, but
What's the process for moving them from the appendix into more actionable sections?
well, because they're implementation, we didn't want to put them back in the comp plan, because the comp plan's supposed to be goals and policies. But if they, like a lot of these actually live on their own as a document, but this is sort of keeping track of what's the most current and when are they going to be updated. So the fact that they're in an appendix doesn't mean they're any less alive than being out in the world, like the water plan, the sewer plan, those exist, but we're just keeping track of sort of when the newest one is and when they would be redone.
And back in 2015, when we were going, I think Trish mentioned it, but when we were going through the comp plan, the council felt like a lot of these were too actionable to be listed as policies in the comp plan, so that's why they were pulled out. So
Okay.
these are considered somewhat actionable.
Is it this committee's job to see which ones are valuable to pull out and make more actionable, or?
There might be ones that when you see the new and update in the far column, if you think it should be updated sooner than not that, again, we can't fund it or not fund it based on our group, but you may think that something may need to go sooner than something else. If there's something in the later years, Oh, this is still the first set. If you thought, for example, that the Old Town Sub-Area Plan should be updated sooner than 5 years, I mean, that's number 3. The Historic Preservation Plan, here you go, AJ, we're supposed to do an all-new one in 2022 because we don't have one. So that's, if that's something that you think should go sooner, you can certainly recommend that, but that doesn't necessarily get it any more funding sooner.
So what kind of feedback are you looking for on this particular section? Do you want us to kind of review the timing and give you feedback, or do you want to actually
Right,
look at the
because
content?
when we gave you this for Old Town, you moved a lot of things around.
Yeah.
You wanted a lot of things sooner and not so many things later. So it's not exactly the same format because a lot of these we don't have any, as much as I love the emergency management plan, there's nothing I can do to make it go faster or slower. But we've listed it in there because it was listed in the plan, and it will get updated in 2021. But certainly if there's pieces that you'd like to alert the council that you feel should be done sooner, we can certainly put that in the recommendation. I think it's also more to let you know all of the different pieces and parts that the city has available to it that are tools to help us find our destiny through all these different planning and project and implementations. There's so many things out there that we're doing or we're updating or we're to help us reach the future that we want.
So I know we had a long discussion about level of service for various parts of the city, and I know we talked about fire and police, and you have it in here, 1819. Is it coming soon? Because I think it's a really important piece.
Right, we're doing the data collection now, but we're not able to get all of the data wrapped around the projects before the end of the year. So, we're thinking, and I still haven't heard back from the person that's helping me, if we're going to get transportation done this year. But for parks, fire, and police, those are bumped till the beginning of next year to finish. And then
They
parks,
are at least on a schedule.
we're in the midst of them, right? And then parks is the end of next year, it should be done.
I understand the necessity of parks, and we all love parks, but I also like fire and policemen, so I want to
Right.
make sure that they're,
Right, because we haven't done fire for a while.
yes, 2006 or some
Yeah,
weird,
it's pretty
long
old.
time ago, and I know. Okay.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like there's any,
Just to clarify my understanding, so some of it is, like you said, it's just itemized is what previously was thought was more immediate action, and then some of it is you guys are actually waiting for data or information or waiting for things. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if it's in the short-term actions, 21 to 22, doesn't necessarily mean that it's languishing because it's not prioritized. It just means you might be waiting for something.
right, or it might be on a 5-year cycle or a 6-year cycle or something that would put it in those later years. Like the water system plan on this last page, they have a 10-year cycle, and they're just about to be adopted, and so that would run it, they would be done for a while, which then they can work on other things. But it just depends on, like the parks plan has a 6-year cycle, so this is just a way to keep track of when things are coming around again.
So the last question I think I have is for the public art program, going from 0.5% to 1%.
Yeah,
Is
I
that a
talked to Amy about that.
possibility in 2019? Has it been talked about, or is it just
That
somebody
may-
decided to put it on the schedule?
No, that made it into the, that's 14, isn't it? Yeah, that's 14 in the immediate.
Okay, so.
And she says they're actually working on that, and they hope to have it done in 2019.
Who?
Amy, I talked to Amy on that.
Okay,
'cause-
so is the Arts Commission working on this, or is Amy as a government employee working on it?
I always think it's she and the Arts Commission. I didn't ask her specifically, But do you know?
They
I
don't
don't
have
know.
any control over how much money it is, so it really should be coming from somebody else who approves
Oh,
1%.
okay. And I just assumed that she was working with King County through the Arts Commission and,
Well, it's up to the city to
Right.
decide if it's going to be 1% or 0.5%. So
Okay.
the Arts Commission just spends it and then makes wonderful discussions.
Right,
They don't
they
get to
do.
choose how much money they get.
right, well, this was the language that she gave me. And you're right, it doesn't actually say who she's working with.
Says the executive.
Right, because Amy's out of the executive department, so that's
Okay.
her department. So I can ask her if you want on how she's doing that or how it's moving through.
I'd just like to, I think that's with all the money that's spent for so many different programs in the city, it would be great if it were 1%, as long as it didn't interfere with budget for something else that was critical.
Yeah, it seems like a fun.
I
it would
like
be a fun
spending
program.
that money.
Yeah. She had a lot of neat examples on where the money's gone already that I had no idea, the things that it's funded. It was a pretty cool list.
I want some more of the electrical boxes covered.
Yeah, those are really fun.
Yes.
There's
that
some
was
great
an
ones.
Awesome idea from Mary Lorna.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Okay, anything else on,
I've got two.
okay?
One, the ST3 planning process that you guys were talking about, should that be called out as a separate line item since that's such a big deal, or do you think that's captured in some of the other transportation elements? Just because that's kind of its own
I think
moving
that's going
part.
to be its own thing coming out of the strategic plan.
Right, and the master mobility plan, and I think it's its own animal.
But since it's its own animal, should it be its own line item on this?
Well, the
I
master
think it-
mobility is in there, number
Right,
7.
Right.
And
And-
I would still wait on that one with the strategic plan.
And in
mean,
this
you
case,
can certainly-
I'm not
So
articulating policy,
what
but
kind
just
of
to
language are you
acknowledge.
thinking, though?
Well, just to acknowledge that that's is that an immediate action, or is that a short-term action to establish the city's policies around specifics of ST3? What's our timeline on when the city is going to attempt to put a stake in the ground as we begin the conversations with Sound Transit?
I'd still wait on the strategic plan. Yeah.
The way you've just phrased it, though, it doesn't seem to back us into a corner, though. If, like, for
Yeah,
example,
in this case, I was trying to back you into a
If you put it in
corner
the 19 to 2020,
earlier.
by the time all that comes around,
Just
we'd
say-
have something, and they may take it out at council because they might think we're putting the
Yeah.
cart before the horse, but
Yeah.
Why do you think if
I'd
the
be okay adding it.
Yeah, if the point of these pages is just for everyone to say, hey, these are all the balls that are in the air, or will be in the air over the next couple of years, I just thought that that's an
Yeah.
extra
Right.
ball in the air that just to keep track of. Like, I'm certain staff won't forget about it, but more for the public to just keep it on there as an extra line.
Right, and what was your language on it again? Did you write it down, or did you just say it
I
off the
just
top
said
of your
it.
head?
Update policies regarding Sound Transit, light rail or something?
Yeah, or
Location,
around
the location?
around ST3.
Okay.
And
The other one was, I remember we talked a lot at the.
Before we move on, what date are we thinking about for that? These all have dates, right? Or is that immediate?
I didn't. Well, I think that's what I was curious. Is that an immediate action or short-term action?
You asked for it, what do you think?
it's not immediate.
You wouldn't want it by 2020 to know where
By
you're...
2020,
Yeah.
I think the city needs to have staked out an initial position.
Right,
So you have a starting point so that you can then begin the work when ST actually brings on consultants and starts actually looking at it, because that's still years away, but the city kind of needs to put some thought into that as like
Right.
pre-planned thought. And so I
Right.
think that's immediate, 2020. I mean, because 2019 seems too quick, but if immediate action includes end of 2020, I think so.
You know, you can always anticipate it, 2020, but things get changed as things get updated, so.
Right.
Well, and if,
Right.
that moves sort of concurrently with the mobility master plan, so those two could work together. and put what we need
So I
in
would think
here.
it would either
So,
be a
yeah.
line with element 7, or you would just add, or you can add language to element 7 that
Right.
just acknowledges that ST3 is probably the
It's
most
part of that.
important new thing to the mobility master plan.
Right. And it'll certainly be a game changer wherever it ends up, right.
Because if we had done, if you dust off previous transportation plans, ST3 hadn't been passed.
Right,
That's the biggest new thing.
right, right.
So you can just add including ST3 on there and you would be happy?
Yeah, similar to,
So that you make a reference to it, that's the
yeah,
only one?
kind of similar to, I think, element 2 in the long term. Like there's the deliverable, and then it kind of talks about some specific things.
Oh, right.
Either that or element 9 on the immediate, either of those kind of work. Something like that,
Okay,
you know, in particular, such as, or something like that.
I think it just adds to the equation that Issaquah actually is working on it and wants it to come and,
right.
you know, Sound Transit can say, yes, they're, you know, they want to work with us. They want,
Right.
they want some to start planning.
Right, that would be good. That's a
At the
good
same
message.
time, I think we're expecting to see other transportation plans before ST3 arrives in 20
I
years,
hope so.
right?
Right.
So there'll be a whole lot more coming through the committee, I'm hoping.
I think we have a long list of things that we want to get done. It's just one
Always,
little problem. There's no money to do them.
right. Sadly, that's true. Okay, so that's all of them.
Sorry.
Oh, that's not all of
I
them.
had one other. So one thing we talked about around the CIP a lot, the St3 plan, was view corridors and how there was a lot of language referencing preserving view corridors, but no specificity about what a view corridor actually is. Is that something that would be captured? I don't know if that is covered under the Parks Strategic Plan or if that's an extra action item. This would certainly be in the longer term actions, but
Right, and we changed the language in the development standards on how to measure if your building is blocking a view corridor.
we did.
We did, because we
But
said
did-
it had to be a public viewing place. It wasn't that you could protect from all the private homes and the private areas. It was just protecting those views that are from a public right-of-way.
But we never specified which views were protected.
I'll check on that, but I thought because we had to do that whole amendment when, I thought it was part of the Costco discussion.
I mean, I
'Cause I
could be
remember
wrong, but
Mel-
I don't think so. I think we certainly spent a lot of time getting the language right about how to protect view corridors and what we meant by that, but we never specified which views were protected.
Okay, I thought, I
Because there was
remember,
some was
because
like, is
Mel
it
was
just
so involved in that
is it just
part.
just the view of Mount Rainier that's protected? Is it the views of all the Alps? Is it
I
the
don't
views of
think
the
we were
lake?
specific.
And I don't
I thought it was all
remember.
the forested hillsides from it has to be from public vantage places, like from a public park, from a public street, but not from like your house. You
Right, but we
couldn't protect
did,
it from
we
your
did
house.
specify that the protected view is of the forested hillsides. That's the
I
part that I don't remember that making it in.
I just remember
Check it
Mel was
out.
so involved. Yeah, I see the research is going on over there.
But your backup is,
So I will write that down.
because if it's there, great, and I'm sorry if I missed it, but if it's not, I thought that was another element that I think still needs to be filled in. We need
Okay.
to have a public process to identify which views are the ones we want to protect.
I would assume that it goes in with the parks plan, but
Because it's more of a, I don't know, that's what I was trying to think. Do you add that to, under the Park Strategic Plan, there's some other stuff and something
Well, it
about view
would
corridors?
be-
I don't know if it's
The
a,
protection would be in regulations, because it'd be so you don't build your building too high.
yeah,
in
it's more of a
certain place
development
that you
rule
would
rather
block
than.
the something. But
You're trying to
but I'll check
prohibit
the
a certain
code
type of
too, because I'm almost
Here
sure
we go.
that's one of the first
Here we go.
amendments we did.
Okay.
Preserve to the extent possible while achieving other city goals existing views of the Issaquah Alps, Mount Rainier, and the Sammamish Plateau from public spaces, including circulation facilities, parks, and open space using methods such as increasing distances between high-rise buildings, retaining or creating view corridors, and strategic placement of building bulk or height.
Yeah, it was that first part, I didn't remember that. All right.
Land use.
I can send it to you tomorrow, where that is.
Yeah, it's land use policy H9.
No,
Yeah.
oh, it's not in the code?
No, it's in the comp plan. That's the comp plan language.
Oh, okay, because I
Yeah,
think
so,
there's
but
something in the
does it need to be in the
central.
Oh,
code?
does it need to be in the code?
I think it's in Central. I think that's one of the first amendments we
Okay, yeah,
did,
that
but
was
I'll
more,
check.
that was more my rub, was whether or not it was actually made it into the code. Okay.
I will check, though, but I remember with Mel that that was one of the first amendments we had to do.
Oh, really?
Okay, so those are the two from AJ. Any others? Okay. Oh, here's the last ones. So, next steps, you guys have a busy fall coming up. Next meeting, October 11th, you're going to have a public hearing on a code amendment, and that's going to be compact municipal buildings, like a new city hall, a new fire station would have to be. Do you remember, those of you that were here in 2017, we did compact schools, the small footprint idea? Well, remember, we tried to have city halls in that amendment, and you guys took it out. So we're coming back again to see if we can get through this time, and so that all of our new buildings, city halls and fire stations and that kind of stuff, would have to be compact. So that's coming to you on October 11th. And if we have any extra time, we can do more review of this, but it seems the comp plan stuff is pretty much all done. The only thing we're still trying to work on with the school district is if they will come talk to us about that great conversation we had last week about urban schools and compact schools and all the good things about schools. So the person we're trying to meet with, Steve Crawford, is out of the office, so we're hoping to talk to him next week to invite him to the 25th.
Has the district been receptive to that yet, or are you still just trying to get the
Well,
person in
they
the
were
office?
when we did the compact schools last year, and so this is the whole policy piece that we shared with you all last time, and the definitions, and so you all had asked if they would actually come and visit with us, and so we had sent it to them, we hadn't gotten comments back, and so we sent it again, said you all wanted to meet, and so we're going to try and meet with him first and, see what ideas and thoughts he has.
Okay.
And hopefully, he'll be happy to come here on the 25th. The 8th of November, a great double header for you guys. The Development Commission's going to be here with you guys. Love those guys and gals. And you're going to be looking at the Gilman Boulevard Corridor concept presentation, and Kristen will be part of that. She's on that team. And the Development Commission's being invited as well to hear it with you. And that same night, we're hoping, while we have the Development Commission here, we're going to try and do a code amendment that changes the level of level 3 review that goes to the Development Commission to add some more criteria on what projects would go to them. So we thought, why not have that discussion when they're actually here to tell you yay or nay, it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. So we thought that was a brilliant use of having the Development Commission here with you all, because they're just great people. You guys haven't met together for a while, so this will be a lot of fun. So then, the 15th of November is the public hearing on the comp plan. So what we'll do is all the comp plan amendments that you've reviewed already, land use, transportation, the appendix, that we just did, we'll make all your changes, put them in the public hearing package, and then resend it out to you for the 15th. And hopefully you'll be comfortable enough to forward that to the council with your recommendation. That would be great. And then in December, who knows what we could do in December? We could do more code amendments. We could start on all new things. It's just really exciting. We just don't even know what we would do in December if we were done with the comp plan. Any questions or thoughts? Another thing is I sent you an email right before I came here, and this, because you all helped with the strategic plan, sort of laying the baseline for what was important, and we had the flip charts, remember, and we had someone in the audience was helping us with our great conversation. Well, that's sort of in its first layer of baking, and they're sending a survey out to all of you that worked on it to see what you think about how far it's come, and does it make sense still, and so I've sent that out to you, and I think the survey is open for maybe till the 8th of October, so it's like a little over a week, and that would be great if you guys could fill out the survey and keep your input in there, because you guys are all the good, wise people of the city. Anything else for the good of the order? Oh, Old Town and the table of permitted uses is going one more time, we hope, to Land and Shore next week, and so we're hoping that they'd be done with both of those, and then they would be going back to council for action by the end of October. So that's another 2 big projects you guys worked on. Yes, ma'am. Yes, both ma'ams.
Go ahead. Oh, well. So Emily did find language. On views and vistas, it's in the standards, Central Issaquah standards.
Oh, it is?
It's not in the
Okay.
land, it's not in the land use
Yes.
code, it is in the standards.
The memory is there.
But the standards are enforceable because the
Yes.
CIP, okay.
Yes, but I will still send that to you tomorrow.
Yes.
Because I knew that I could not have dreamt that.
Okay, I should never doubt you, Trish.
No, you should often. Trust yet verify, I think were the famous words.
Okay, all right, thanks, Emily.
Super. Anything else for the good of the order that's coming?
Looking at the agenda, I think the commission felt pretty strongly that the compact and urban schools should be a conversation with the school district as a key stakeholder. So if the 25th doesn't work, I would just throw out being a little bit flexible with the, if we need to grab one of the other slots for them.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
I mean, hopefully it does, but if they want to come, but the 25th doesn't work, I would just say encourage us to try to be a little bit flexible with our schedule
Right.
to ensure that we can have that conversation
Right.
with them and be productive.
And that's why we bumped the public hearing all the way in November in case we needed to move something around. But yeah, because we think it's better if everybody's at the table
Yeah.
for that. Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you all for being here and being our quorum.
What does
Appreciate it.
commission membership mean on the call to order?
Oh, that's always there, just to show, so that we take attendance. And if you look at the next page, it shows all
Yeah,
of you,
that's all it is.
all of you guys and gals.
Oh, that's addressing that
That's
bit.
It's just connecting it.
Okay, seeing no other comments, you sure? I'll close the meeting at 7:16.
Nicely
Thank you
done.
all.
All right.